Good evening, everybody. Tonight we will go deep into the realm of the unknown and question everything as we search for the truth. We will explore the possibility of countless phenomena within the ultraspectrum, and together we will learn that it is all connected. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association, and it is a live stream broadcast. If you have a question, send me a super chat or become a YouTube member. This podcast is brought to you by the Experiencers Support Association. Take a seat, relax, get ready, and welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Beyond the TinFoil Hat. Today is Thursday, October 6, 2022, and I, Ryan Stacey, am your host this evening. I'm a licensed private investigator, a citizen journalist, a former MUFON guy, and now the Director of Investigations for the Experiencers Support Association. Welcome to the channel, and thank you for joining us this evening. Special thanks to all our YouTube members who help us keep this program and others free for our experiencers. Remember that as a member, you get to ask questions live here tonight. For all you non-members, you can super chat or send a tip on Rockbend to ask your questions to our guests live. Every little bit helps. Keep this free for everybody. At the 2-hour mark, Cece and I will have our after chat, so stick around and we'll keep the conversation going and chat with everyone that's in the live chat. Okay. We will discuss what we thought about tonight's episode and share some recent news for Tesla. We had some updates on the website today too, so we're going to talk about those. Tonight's theme, which is Experiencer Testimony and Discovery Journey. Our guest for Season 4, Episode 32 is Sev Tok. Sev is a speaker, author, spiritual counselor, experiencer advocate, and a lifelong experiencer. Originally from Istanbul, Turkey, she emigrated to the U.S. as a little girl, not knowing English as she started first grade, and earned a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Loyola, that's tongue twister, University. Sev's ET contact started at age 10, which she kept secret until 2017 when Grays burned red X marks into her back. Interesting. This ET contact prompted her to come out in 2018 as a speaker at AlienCon, and through her book, You Have the Right to Talk to Aliens, endorsed by renowned ufologist Kathleen Marden. Perfect. I like Kathleen. Sev is featured in the Canadian TV docuseries Encountered UFO Physical Contact, has been interviewed around the world, speaks at conferences, and is honored to be the Master of Ceremonies at MUFON's International Symposium in Denver in July 2022, so this year. As MUFON field investigator, the Assistant State Director for North Carolina, and as a member of MUFON's Experiencer Resource Team, used to be Research Team, Sev helps experiencers around the world. She also offers personal and private guidance to experiencers through Tell Me Your ET Story on her website, planetsev.com, her monthly newsletter, and her YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV. For the past 12 years, Sev has been conducting soul sessions with clients around the world. The sessions offer interdimensional guidance to manifest one's purpose and activate multi-dimensional DNA in order to design a fulfilling, successful, and dynamic life. A planet and star system are named after her in the Star Wars galactic system. I was going to say that. Awesome. You can find the Sev Tok star system and planet in Wikipedia. We're going to look at that later. Sev lives on the inner banks of North Carolina, and you can find her at, again, planetsev.com, and we'll share her website after the break. All right, Sev, put on your tinfoil hat, and we're about to go down a rabbit hole. How you doing?
Good evening. It's a pleasure to be with you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, thanks for being here. This is great. So I said Experiencer Research Team because it used to be that way. When did they change it to Resource?
Yes.
Did they change it to Resource recently?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so we're going to start the night off with an icebreaker. I forgot to mention that. So Cece has prepared an icebreaker question for both of us. And I'm going to read it out for the first time live, and we're going to go from there. So I'm just going to play it a little jingle, and we'll be right back. Okay, so her question is, name a movie or TV show character that best represents you and why?
Oh, wow. Oh, well, I don't watch that much TV, and I don't watch that many movies. This is a hard one for me. I just don't watch a lot of TV or movies, so I really can't answer. I've been watching a lot of Green Acres lately.
Okay. Anyone from Green Acres?
Arthur the pig.
Oh, okay. For me, I can't think of. That's a hard one for me to think of too for myself. Who would I want to play me in any movie? I don't know who I would be. I think it depends on what you think of me. There's good sides of it, you know. But all right, thanks, Cece, for the icebreaker question.
All right.
That's okay. Oh, good. It broke the ice. That's the whole point, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first question I ask every guest, it is why are you the way that you are? And what I mean by that is walk me through your life on how you got to here in this moment. And you can go as far back as you want to go, and then we'll just see how far that conversation goes. And then I'm going to make notes, and then I'll ask questions along the way, and then we'll be good.
Okay. Well, thank you. Why am I the way I am? Well, yeah, there's a lot to that because I believe that the way I am is not just because of this particular 3D life. I think the way I am has to do with also the other lives that I'm living that people call past lives and the experiences that I'm having in the multi-dimensions. But if we just concentrate on the 3D Sev, I immigrated here, like you said in my introduction, from Turkey, and I learned English. I was a girl when I came here, and for the first several years that I was here, I didn't know English. So I believe that is when I started to strengthen my psychic abilities in order to understand what people were saying, or in order to read the room or just know what was going on. And then that continued my whole entire life, strengthening my psychic abilities and talking with ETs and other multidimensional beings. And I graduated from Loyola University with a Bachelor of Science in biology. The aim was to go to medical school, but I had an internship at University of Maryland Hospital, and I realized that's not what I wanted. So I ended up owning a few businesses, doing my own thing, working for some other people. I was never really fulfilled or happy. And that is because I was hiding a huge, very important part of my reality, and that's my ET contact. And when you hide something that's truthful about yourself, that manifests in a negative way in all areas of your life. So looking back on it now, I can see why I had difficult relationships. I can see why I was never fulfilled, and I was always looking for a different job or looking for a different career. And it wasn't until I came face to face with my ET contact, which was the most difficult thing I had to do. It was my biggest obstacle. And that just happened recently. That happened in 2017 when I moved here to the Inner Banks of North Carolina from Capitol Hill, Washington, D.C. I also lived in Baltimore for a couple of decades. But as soon as I moved here, I made contact with the Greys, and they burned 2 red X marks into my back on my tush. And that sent me into something like an existential crisis. And I knew I had to deal with it. And so I needed help. I finally admitted that I needed help. I got the help that I needed. And then it opened up this huge new door in my life. And I started helping experiencers. And it's a joy to do so. I'm also a transformational coach. I help people discover and manifest their soul purpose. These are sessions, they're multidimensional, interdimensional sessions. Information comes through. It's something we can all do. It just takes practice. And what comes out are why you're here, your reason for being, and how you can manifest that, and your best career paths, and past lives, and mental blocks that we all have, and how you can identify them and then move around them or eliminate them. And the sessions, I call them soul sessions, and they're basically geared to help you become as happy as possible.
Okay, that's a beautiful thing. That's you fit right in. That's it.
Thank you.
Okay, so I was just making notes as we go through. So you mentioned you got help. So I'm curious to know at that time in your life when you decided to ask for help, which is always challenging. It's really hard to know where to go, right?
Yes, it is.
And so how did you find the help? What help did you get when you finally decided?
Yeah. A really good friend of mine, Elizabeth, who lives on the island of Maui in Hawaii, she called me one day and she said, I really think you should see Unacknowledged by Dr. Stephen Greer. So I watched it and it lit this fire in me. And as soon as it was over, I went to my computer and I told myself, I have to send a picture of these X's on my back to somebody because I need help. And I heard in my head, I heard MUFON. And so I went on their website and I found Kathleen Marden and I contacted her and she responded very quickly. And she spent about an hour and a half with me in a Zoom session. And she validated a lot for me and she was greatly helpful. She's my friend and my mentor today. In fact, she endorsed my book, which I'm very grateful for. And that's how I started to get my help. I had to also help myself. So this is a process that has a lot of deep personal introspective work. You have to go places that sometimes places. I found out why I was hiding my ET contact reality. And as soon as I focused on it and faced it, poof, my whole life changed for the better. And it was really the best thing that ever happened to me, my ET contact. And the thing is, I changed my mind because at first when the first time I came in contact with the Greys, I've been in contact with them several times. They were not the first beings I remember coming in contact with. When I was 10, from 10 to 12, I came in contact with non-human or extraterrestrial beings that were not Greys. But then over the course of the years, a couple of decades later, I started coming in contact with the Greys and they scared me. And I thought they were evil. And I thought they were victimizing me. And this is because I thought everyone was victimizing me. I spent most of my life in a victim vibe. And so what my ET contact did for me was to bounce me out of that victim vibe, which is a really bad state to be in. A lot of us are in it. And as soon as I was able to bounce out of that, then I could very clearly see where my fulfillment lied, what I wanted to do. And I was able to express my authenticity.
So that confidence came from that too. So you were validated. So Kathleen, I've worked with Kathleen. She's a lovely lady, very intelligent lady. I spent some time in the Experiencer research team, now resource team with her. And lots of good things have come from her. I'm sad to hear that she stepped down from that, but she just retired for a little bit. But so the idea, though, so what I'm hearing and what I like and what I appreciate is the pain, I guess, or the darkness, I suppose, that existed prior to just coming out. So, if you will, and once you've done that, everything changed. Everything got better for you personally. You started changing the way you're thinking about things. You started understanding. You started learning. You started evolving, and now what you're doing is you're giving that back. Right? So you're providing support for experiences. So how do you do that now? How are you giving that back?
Yes. Well, I do that two ways. I do that through MUFON, and I also do it personally If you go to my website, planetsev.com, I'll tell you why I called it Planet Sev in a minute. If you go to my website, up there, True ET Stories, what does it say? ET Encounters?
True ET. Yeah, ET Encounters.
You can go in there and you can tell me about your experience. It's private and confidential, and I'll respond to you. And there's also a True ET Stories where I share some of the stories and some of the drawings and the pictures anonymously. I think it's very important for us to share. We don't have to come out in a global stage. We don't have to write a book, but it's very important that we share our stories so other experiences will know they're not the only ones that have had an experience like that.
I agree with that wholeheartedly. Keeping it inside doesn't do any justice. And if someone is reading this, they can be like, hey, that happened to me too. And they get immediate validation. And then they might contact and say, hey, and give you more information and things like that too.
Yes, and then that could help begin the process, the transformation. That's a very interesting picture right there. That is an experiencer who had an event with grays and those mantis beings. I personally have not seen the mantis beings. Many people have. They do often kind of travel around together. Have you seen them, Ryan?
I've had some reports of the mantis and the grays separate, but not together. I've not seen them together before. So this is interesting to me. And you know what's interesting to me, actually, since we're looking at it, is the fact that some of them wear clothes. That was always like some are naked, but some are not. So, because there was questions on whether or not it was like a suit or an android. Like, there's a lot of theories out there of what these beings could be. But if they're wearing clothes, why do we wear clothes? Primarily because we're cold and we want to stay warm. So that would suggest to me that's not a machine. It must have feelings.
Yes, that's a very interesting point. I have MILAB or MILAB experiences. I have conscious memories of MILAB, military abductions. And in one of my memories, I was in this room, and there was a room across from me. We were divided by a big glass window. And in the room across from me, this gray was brought in. And I was told, that is the original gray. And then that one was taken out, and then a smaller one was brought in. And I was told, that's the hybrid of the original. And then that one was taken out, and the smallest one was brought in. And I was told, that's the hybrid of the original. And with each step down, sentience was lost. So the smaller ones felt robotic. The original tall one had a sentience to it.
Interesting, because when me trying to understand how everything's connected, all the theories should exist somehow being connected. So if some people are seeing different species or different versions of the same species, that would make sense as to why we can't come to a conclusion. But you've just basically explained how it all lines up. So if the original, so is that cloning? Are we cloning them, or are they?
I don't know. If there is a cloning, who's doing the cloning? Because I have a lot of questions about cloning. I was shown a baby in a tube a few years ago. It was around 2012. And I have a picture of it. I think you have a picture that I drew of this baby in a tube. This is when I was living in Baltimore. And yes. Yeah. And I was in this dark room, and there was this tube in front of me with this baby floating in it, in this like a fluorescent liquid. And I could not understand why I was looking at this baby. I didn't feel anything for it. And its eye, I saw one eye, it was open. It was the bluest eye I have ever seen. And even though its leg was positioned so that I couldn't tell the sex. I felt that it was a boy. And then all of a sudden I felt like there was something behind me. So I turned around, and that's when I saw the grays, tall, medium, and short. And that's before I knew that grays even came in different sizes. And they said to me, "Oh, take your time. We're just going to stand back here. It's okay. Don't worry. Just take your time." And I didn't understand what I was taking my time for. I felt absolutely nothing for this baby. And then I popped out of it, and I found myself in my bedroom. And I never really talked about that until years later, when I was in Roswell, New Mexico, a few years ago. And I had an incident there with the grays. And I was reminded of this baby in a tube, and I was given information about the hybridization program. I've also seen in my MILAB experiences hybrid babies that are not healthy, they're not well, and my job was to heal them. And I was with human-looking individuals with lab coats. It resembled a doctor's office. All of my MILAB experiences were in these the kind of like military type rooms that were just really drab in color, sparsely furnished. If it wasn't medical personnel, then it was young men, well, in their 20s and 30s. They all pretty much look the same. And I never had a good MILAB experience. I've had neutral ones, and I've also had, I had a couple that weren't pleasant.
You don't have to talk about those, but have you talked to someone about the ones that aren't pleasant? You've worked through those?
I have recently started talking about them. Okay. Yes. There's still a lot of questions about MILAB. If you like talking about it, if you know a lot about it, I'd like to hear what you have to say about it, because I'm not quite sure who are those humans. Are they Americans? Is it some other different group? Is it the government?
That's kind of interesting, because my approach is trying to understand how normal it sounds, how it would make more sense that there's human or government involvement than this extraterrestrial being in control and coming through and doing that. There has to be some sort of agreement or some sort of arrangement in order for us not to be so easily able to capture, see, and do this and all these other things. So there has to be some regulation there. But the one thing you said is that as soon as you came to America is when you had those experiences. So I thought maybe there was something to do with America with this abduction phenomenon, because it's the location that you happen to be in when this started from you, which is what you said. And if my lab is government, I would dial back to that event to kind of figure out if there's any connection to a government source or anything like that prior to you moving over, and things like that too. So, but what I understand with the My Labs is it's possible, it would make sense that the government has areas in which they can study consciousness. They can invade. They're practicing it. They're trying to use it. We have evidence that they've tried. We just don't have any evidence that they were successful. And if they were successful, did they cover it up? So it's possible. They knew it was possible where they got the information from. Otherwise, they wouldn't experiment with it. Fast forward 80 years, all that other stuff. Like it is definitely something that happens. Now, the challenge is when you go, and I call this place the ultra spectrum. So when we're connecting to this place in consciousness, this common place that we're all going, is that the same place? And are we connecting to what's here on Earth and all those other things? That's where it gets more complex. So the government may be involved with initiating the consciousness to get to said place, kind of like a Stranger Things scenario, but doesn't really have control of what's in the upside down, just to say with that idea. So they need to focus on, that's where, and I think that would justify or perhaps explain the reason to continuously visit, because they may have activated, there's proof that it worked, And then now we need to follow these experiencers throughout the course of their lives to see how they adapt, to see how they evolve, see how they, I guess, combine with whatever it is that they've done. Because some people get injections. There's a whole bunch of different things and scenarios that happen in these labs. So if you want to elaborate more on your experiences, then we can talk about that. But I mean, as an experiencer, I don't like to pry on a live show. So
yeah, thank you. I appreciate that.
So
I do believe that the government debriefs, or some organization debriefs experiencers, because we're given a lot of information. We're giving information about new scientific innovations. We're given information about psychic abilities. We're given information about the hybridization program, and we're also given spiritual information. And all of this information is very empowering for the individual. I do not think that the United States government wants empowered individuals. And so it could be a threat, this information that experiencers are being given. And the government wants to know what that is. I have that MILAB experience I had that was very uncomfortable. It was beyond uncomfortable. It was like mental torture. They wanted me to do something that was psychic in nature. And I didn't want to do it because I knew that it was not for a good reason. And I knew bad things were going to happen if I did it. And I refused. And so there was mental torture. And it was very difficult. And yeah, I don't want to go into all the details, but it's a little haunting. So they're taking the information that we have, and then they're trying to use it for their benefit, which is not positive. This is my experience.
Well, that's a common experience. And if you understand the way the government is, reverse engineering, and all these other things, they're using us as weapons. So that's why I'm saying the science exists,
Yes.
but what I'm trying to do with my studies is trying to understand why I say, why are you the way that you are? All part of this is trying to understand if there might be some sort of common gene or trait or story that meets the criteria for them to do what it is that they do to make us the prime suspect or subject for the experiment. Because if it was something that we all could do, they would just do it to all of us at the same time. Or maybe they have, and then they're just at certain stages of our lives, we get activated or however you want to call it. And then you get studied later on in life. It could be one of those things. But have you ever given any consideration or thought as to why you were selected to partake in this experiment, whether it was intended to be harmful or not?
I think they're interested in all experiencers. So it's not just me selected out of the experiencers. I also know that a lot of experiencers have military backgrounds. And my grandfather was a lieutenant colonel in the Turkish army. And then I also had very high level positions I have relatives that were in high positions in the Ottoman army. And everywhere I've lived,
Right.
Everywhere I've lived, I've been very close to some kind of base. And I never really realized this until recently. Very, very close to a major base. I am still today. So there's something there, I do think. What do you think?
Well, it's interesting to go back to the whole, like, what happened before you came to America. So if that already existed in your history, in your life prior to, there could be some connections, because the time frame, depending on the time frame of when all this happened, like this, a lot of, if we go back to the specific year and look at the way the world was then, you can kind of figure out the place of war. But what's interesting about this is similar testimony that I've heard many times. We have an experiencer in the chat. Her name's Lisa. She's very open about her experiences. I'm just going to acknowledge her because I know she's here. Lisa, this sounds very similar to some of the things that you've been that on the cases we've been working on. So I hope that's validating for you. And as an investigator, like, to me, that's corroborating evidence, because I didn't know any of that prior to talking to you. And I've always used Lisa as my she was my last case with MUFON, but my first one with Tessa when I started doing this, studying the experiencers segment of my career. So she's my patient zero, I guess is what I always say, because everyone to her, because she has a very unique and interesting case herself. My lab is in there. Another thing too, Lisa, I mean, I know your cases quite well. They're on the website. And she's quite open. She's written a book about it too. So I don't do this with all experiencers. I'm just kind of prefacing that, like, we know I'm okay to talk about it, but she's also mentioned the different sizes of grays too. But we didn't have an explanation or a logical explanation or a thought as to why there would be variance. I thought maybe, younger age difference, maybe they're teaching the kids, like you would think that. But the way that you had explained it with the intelligence as it degraded as they went down, I resonate with that hypothesis as well, because there are some reports that thinks that they're androids. There are some reports that thinks that they're humans, and if it's a combination of all of it, then that would make sense. But the common fact between the two stories is this tier of heights and these mixed beings as well, and different things, and a lab, and like there's a lot of commonalities between the experiencers. So what's not only as important as you experiencers coming out and sharing it is connecting other experiencers with other experiencers, so you guys can learn more. Because if you're being studied and she's being studied and other people are being studied, what are the chances of us finding someone who was in the same room or in the same lab that day? And then you have a witness. Yeah. Even though it's in your mind. And that's what I'm trying to find. I'm trying to find, other people that have been in these places, put them all in the same room. Because you get a lot of people also report being on spaceships. And, and they see other people there. Have you ever been on any spaceship? Have you had any experiences like that? Yeah. Now we want to talk about those. Are you okay with that? It's okay.
When I received the red X's on my back, I was in a room that I did not recognize. I don't know if that was a spaceship or not. I was lying on a table, and I was lying on my side, and this is conscious memory with the second X. Which came 9 days after my first X, which I chose to ignore. So that was on the left cheek of my tush. And my boyfriend at the time, we're no longer together, he was just as stunned as I was. And I told him, we're just going to forget about this. We're just going to forget that this ever happened, because that's what I had been doing my whole life. Every time I had a scoop mark or bruises or geometric shapes on me, or bright lights in the middle of the night in the hallway, or the beings in my room touching me, I would just told myself, just forget about it. I just filed it into the back of my brain. But this X made me go back there and take everything out from the back of my brain and bring it to the forefront. So even though this X was very scary and, like I said, caused me to have an existential crisis, it was really the best thing that's ever happened to me. The second X was just like that, this one, but that one was on, excuse me, my right cheek. And they were right across from each other. Huh. So with the second X, I had this conscious memory of lying on a table in this room that was hardly had any furniture in it, and very low light. And I felt like there was something, I was lying on my side, and I couldn't move my arms and I couldn't move my legs. So I felt paralyzed. And I felt there was something behind me, and I couldn't move my head. So I turned around, and standing right here, just inches from me, was a gray. Okay. And we locked eyes. I looked right in his eyes. And in my book, I describe it as looking into two pools of black oil. And I was scared to death. There was no telepathic communication in the past. There was always telepathic communication between me and the Greys, but this time there was nothing, which scared me even more. So I turned my head back around, and ding, my eyes pop open, and I'm in my bedroom. And I decide to go downstairs because I'm very, very, very worried that there's another X on me. Because I'm thinking, if there's another X on me, I'm going to flip out. Like, I'm not going to be able to handle this. So I'm waiting for my then boyfriend to come downstairs. And he always got up before I did, but this time I got up first. And he came downstairs, and I told him my memory. And I told him that there was also something else I knew that I had never known before. And that is that when I was on that bed in that room, I was on the moon. It's just the knowing that I had. I had never had that knowing before. So I then asked him to check my tush, and there was another X. And that's what threw me for a loop. I was like, oh my gosh, they're really messing with me. They're toying with me. How dare they? Why are they doing this to me? Because, you know, back then I was like this big victim. And I decided that I needed help. I had never gone for help before. And so I know what it feels like to deal with this all by yourself, not asking for help. It's turmoil. It's torture. And then often many of us cannot talk to family members. Maybe we can't even talk to our friends. But these days, it's a lot easier to get help, isn't it, Ryan? Because of shows like yours and all kinds of experiencer groups and all kinds of
it is
Facebook pages.
If you're in the circles, but it's hard to get to expand this circle because of media and all these other things too. It's almost like a secret club, but it is getting easier because more people are doing the same thing, offshoots, different departments and stuff like that too. I do have some questions about it. If you don't mind me asking, is that okay? Is it okay with it on the screen? It's not re-victimizing or anything like that? We're okay? Okay, no. Perfect.
I don't resonate.
Do you remember, like,
anymore?
Are these scabs? Are these scabs at all, or what did this feel like? Give me more information.
Okay, so when I ran my finger across it, I couldn't feel them. They weren't raised, but looking at them, they look like burn marks. And actually, a few months ago, I had these 3 marks put on my upper right thigh that over a course of 8 days, those marks started to change and they became like burnt skin, and then a geometric pattern emerged. And I put those pictures on my Facebook page. I'm on Facebook and Instagram, and I have a YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV. And that I could easily see because it was on my upper right thigh, and I could feel that, and that felt burnt. That felt like something burned me. This I could not feel when I ran my fingers across it.
It's interesting. It reminds me like a biopsy. So a biopsy, but usually you take the sample with you, but you can also insert. And if they're checking for something specifically, then it's almost like a grid. So they start in one area, and then they're just taking a couple samples or injecting a couple things in certain areas to do something or to study something. So if you have these, just rolling off of this, if you had these marks on left side, right side, and there was a third place too, right?
No, I didn't say third place.
Okay, so sorry. And this was an eye-awakening experience?
Sorry. I'm sorry to interrupt you. When you said the third place, do you mean that the burnt mark geometric shape that I was just talking about?
Yeah, just the same idea. Okay. So do you think, or have you learned or discovered any change medically or biologically for the better, perhaps, after this has happened?
It's more a mental change. Yeah. It's a shift in perspective, and it's a very beneficial shift in perspective. So, of course, I wondered, why did they put this mark on my tush? And I think there's a couple of reasons. I think first, just to get my attention, because they had been communicating with me and leaving marks on my body for years, and I kept ignoring them. So I like to joke in my head that they were talking to each other and like, how can we get this girl's attention? And they're like, let's just put a big red X in my ass. And so that got my attention.
It's hard for you to see it, though. It wouldn't be easy for you to notice unless you checked in the mirror or something, or someone else saw.
No, what happened was I was in the kitchen unpacking because we had just moved. This happened my first or second night that we just moved. And while I was unpacking the dishes, it felt like something bit my butt and it hurt, like a bug bite or something. So I yelled over to Patrick. I'm like, Patrick, will you look at my butt? I think a bug bit it. And that's when I bent over and he looked at it and he didn't say anything. It was just silence, which scared me. I'm like, well? And he goes, yeah, there's a bug bite, but there's also a red X. And I was like, what? Take a picture. When I saw the picture, I knew it was the Grays. But I didn't want to go any further than that. I just wanted to ignore it. I wanted it never to happen again. I just wanted it to end right then and there. But it didn't. 9 days later, I came to in my bedroom with that conscious memory of being on that table.
Interesting. So you need to try to understand the why, right? So
so it is said that Kundalini energy rests in the lower part of our body, like where the tush is. And when Kundalini energy is activated, what happens is you are compelled to be your authentic self. You want to know the truth about everything. It's a driving force. So I think that might have something to do with it too.
The only fact that I'm aware of is having allergies is when you have a bad allergic reaction, they usually insert the needle in the butt because it's a large muscle and it gets to the heart real quick. So that's why I'm trying to understand if they were extracting or implanting. Right. So if something had touched, some device was used either once or several times to add something or remove something. So if the Kundalini energy is in that area and that fact backed onto this, then it would suggest that they activated it, which kind of goes to that theory as to back to the MyLab idea, is they might be aware of this something that exists in all of us, and it needed to be activated in order for you to do what it is that you're doing, which means there's a purpose for it, which means it's needed.
Yeah.
So where are you at now? Like, are you still being
Yeah, just a few months ago, I had that geometric shape burned into my right thigh, and that was accompanied by an orange orb that I saw outside. And then the day before that, I saw a craft go by. And what I started to do was write everything down, because I didn't write things down for many, many, many years. I wish I did. So that is something I suggest to everybody. Write it down, because you'll start seeing patterns and you'll also forget. And I do wish that I wrote down more. But now that I finally started writing, it was only because I wrote down that I saw the orb and that I saw that triangular craft go over the trees. And then I wrote down that burnt geometric mark in my thigh. That's when I saw, oh, those all happen together. Because one thing experiencers tend to do is we tend to think of our experiences in an isolated way. We tend not to weave a common thread through them, and to see them in some kind of sequential order. A lot of times we just see them as individual events, but they're tied. They're all tied together.
Mm-hmm. With our reporting system, we allow paranormal experiences as well as consciousness experiences, not just UFOs. And what I've been doing with my research is with the individual experiencer is I'm investigating each of these cases on an individual level and trying to compare the paranormal, like remove the paranormal and UFO archetypes just to compare it to the experiencer. But at the end of working with an experiencer, and Lisa's one of these examples where she's reported multiple times, because you remember different events at different times of your life and stages. But once we map it out for the experiencer, we see this timeline, and this timeline usually starts with some sort of contact. That seems to be common. And I'm working on a report right now for your report to explain that. But it some sort of contact, whether it's government or alien or paranormal, does some sort of insemination of some sort to the human being, and then all of a sudden that's when they start seeing ghosts, and then they start having consciousness experiences, poltergeist activity, mid-teens, and then become consciousness, and then Reiki masters and healers in their end of life, a little closer to the end. So I'm starting to see that pattern, but they believe it to be paranormal. They believe it to be ghost, and they separate that. They don't think that it's connected to the ET phenomenon, which is why I had a lot of challenges with MUFON, is because it was like this, like there's more going on than just UFOs, which is why I joined the research team with Kathleen Marden, where she really got involved with abductions. So that's what I was very, very interested in, is seeing the parallels. So have you had any paranormal experiences that are like quote unquote ghosts that might fall into this extraterrestrial realm? Want to talk about those?
Yes. Oh, well, that's been happening my whole life. Okay. Talking to dead people, having beings appear, communicating with beings. That is just the way my whole life has been. I'd like to talk about one interesting experience that I had that was a Men in Black. But I call it an astral Men in Black. This was not a 3D Men in Black. So going back to what you were saying, Ryan, about the government experimenting with consciousness, what is this astral Men in Black that appeared at the foot of my bed? Was it by government? As the government advanced? We all know that they've been doing a lot of experimentation with the mind. Are they advanced to the point where they can enter our minds or send these interdimensional beings to us to mess with our minds? Can our government do that? Can other governments do that? Very possible. Very, very, very possible. It could be that this astral Men in Black maybe was sent by the government. But what happened was I had a girlfriend come and stay with me. And it was the first night that she was staying with me. And in the middle of the night, she was staying in the guest room. And in the middle of the night, she came into my room and she crawled into my bed and she said, "I'm scared." And then at that very moment, I sensed something at the foot of my bed, and I turn around and it is this very tall black shadow. The room was dark. It was nighttime, but this was blacker than the darkness. And it looked like it was wearing a suit. It looked like it was wearing a hat, that whole thing. And as soon as I recognized it, it shot this energy from it into me, into my chest. And yes, it looked like that.
Did it look like that?
Yeah. Is that an astral Men in Black in someone's bedroom?
I'll explain. I'll let you finish, and then I'll bring that back up, and I'll.
That's what it looked like. Yeah.
Okay.
And no facial features or anything, just solid black. And so it shot energy from it into me, into my chest. I felt it come in. It was like tentacles, and it got a hold of me, and it felt like it was pulling my essence out. It felt like it just wanted to completely overtake me. And it was very, very powerful. And I have learned, I didn't know this before, but when I was younger, but now I've learned that I'm in control and that it's not in control, I'm in control. And so I said, no, you can't have a part of me. Whatever this is that you like put inside of me, you have to like retract it and take it back out. But it didn't want to. So there was like this energetic battle. And I felt like I was fighting for my life. And it was scary. And I did not back down. And eventually it just poof, disappeared. So the next morning, I asked my girlfriend how she slept. Did anything weird happen? She goes, yeah, something weird happened. And I said, what? And she said, well, first of all, she said she did not come into my bedroom and crawl into my bed. She does not remember that at all. But she said, while I was having my Men in Black experience, she was in the guest room. And there was a window there overlooking the water. And she looked out the window, and there in the sky was a hologram or a holograph of Jesus Christ. And she's getting these messages. And the messages were like, we can do this. We can just create this vision that's not real, like a hologram or a holograph, to fool you. That's the experience she was having. So I find that this astral Men in Black is somehow tied to whoever was giving her that information, because that's not positive information. If the government can indeed do something like that, and I've heard that they can, it will be used in nefarious ways. And so something unusual happened that night, where there was a darker energy that was brought forth. And I do believe that that our darker energy came from my friend, because unfortunately she had just started down that rabbit hole, the political rabbit hole of, Hillary's going to be arrested tomorrow and they eat babies, and it just went on and on and on and on. And that's a really negative vibe to be in. And when you are engaged in low frequency thoughts or in low frequency activities, that changes your personal vibratory field, brings it down. You're not resonating at a higher level, and you align with beings that have a similar vibration to yours. And so she was aligning with these lower frequency beings. And everywhere we go with our beings, we go with our peeps, our spirit guides, and all the other things. Everywhere we go, they're there. And so even though you're trying to keep a high frequency, it could very well be that there are lower frequency beings that just kind of want to test you or just pop in every now and then. And especially if they belong to your friends, it could very well be that they are in your house.
Mm-hmm. I like that you called it an astral Men in Black. I mean, I wrote that down and I was holding on to that thought this whole time, because the hologram technology, and that technology could be this paranormal stuff that we call ghosts. It's just not understanding what we're seeing if it's government related. And so this particular experience here, this experiencer reported seeing this entity or being coming out of his closet, and there's this portal. Okay, but so this is just on our website through, and this is the original drawing here, but through the regression and testimony of that too, he's had some out of body or some off-world travel, secret space program kind of idea, where this individual had come to recruit. So through the portal, mental experience, now doing this off-world military stuff, gets injured in this particular one. This is a crest that he had seen. So, and then there's this is the regression audio analysis. So this is one of the cases that I've done, but I'll just put that in the comments.
Wow,
But
interesting.
To piggyback off of that, this is in Canada as well. He spoke of Camp Hero. I'm recalling from memory, the Montauk Project in New York. which is, I do believe that's where they get the idea from Stranger Things and experimenting with the mind, MK Ultra, all that stuff is there. So it's hard enough for us to capture images of flying saucers in the 3D world, and yet all this other stuff may be happening in a holographic world or another dimension, interdimensional, which I call the ultraspectrum. So when we get these drawings, and this is something I often talk about, I'm just using this example, that even though that's a drawing, for those I've been following for a while, we have witness testimony right now live that corroborates the case that's already been documented. So adding the layers of evidence together reinforces the possibility that this happens. And to add Lisa's experience on that, she has experience with Men in Black as well. And I've always, thinking in the three-dimensional world, if they're actually there in the 3D world, it wouldn't make sense for them to be parked outside because other people would see it. And as a private investigator, I know that that's the worst thing you could do for surveillance, is being so obvious. But if it's not, and it's in her mind, and she's seeing it in the astral side, so these astral Men in Black, then it fits. And if it fits in that way, then this is why the experiencers are very important. This testimony like this and others is disclosure, because as more people come forward and share their story, you have a credible background. You have lots to lose for coming out and saying these things. Right. So that speaks to the testimony too. So what is your end game? We're going to go into to a commercial break soon, but what are you hoping? What is the world that you're trying to create for you and everyone else with your work? Now that you have all this information, you're an experiencer, you've learned it's something that's happening. You have these abilities. You're doing good things, but why?
For consciousness expansion, individually and collectively. When we realize that there is more to us than just this, and that we are active in the multi-dimensions all the time, that really makes us realize that we're unlimited. We're not limited as many of us believe we are, and that we really have these innate powers of manifestation and the ability to find peace and fulfillment. But if you're living in this very restrictive version of Earth, just based on what others are telling you to believe, that's really when you don't feel unfulfilled, when you feel depressed, when you feel hopeless, when you feel limited. And so consciousness, the expansion of consciousness, is really going to help us all pop out of the various matrices that we're all stuck under, the matrices of struggle and the matrices of oppression. We can all bounce out of that as we broaden and expand our consciousness. So that's why I'm doing this. It's all about consciousness. It's all about just opening people's minds that you're unlimited.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate that, and thank you for doing that. So we're going to pause right here, but we will be back after our commercial break. If you're listening to the audio-only version, head over to youtube.com/The Experiencer Support Association to see the video that goes with this audio. Remember, you are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat, a podcast by the Experiencer Support Association, and we will be back in about 5 minutes.
It's your business. It's your property. Your assets are worth protecting. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services specializes in patrolling and inspecting residential or commercial property against fire, theft, vandalism, terrorism, and illegal activity. People and buildings are monitored to prevent crime. Keep your property, your people, and your assets safe from threat. Our elite staff are dual licensed private investigators and security guards. Blacklight Investigative and Surveillance Services. Go to blacklightiss.com.
The
same thing that draws aliens to our planet is the same thing that draws us to others. Exploration, curiosity, sustainability of life. That's why we go. It would make sense as to why they're visiting here.
Travis! Quit playing around, man. Get back here. Travis!
The last thing I remember was this numbing shock. Stunning sort of a feeling. Very powerful.
Get away from me!
I was just out of my mind with fear, just screaming the whole time.
It's been theorized that aliens prefer remote areas because they don't want to attract attention. Whatever it is that they're doing, they would want to do that in a less populated area. There are multiple accounts of the same thing from people from all over the world. People that do not know each other, do not live in the same cultures, and they're all looking up, they're all seeing things in the sky. So it would be naive of us to think that
Ryan is one of Canada's leading new UFO investigators. He conducts and oversees UFO investigations on a constant basis and was really taken by his research. He's compiled a tremendous amount of data regarding UFOs in Canada. Just as interesting, he really goes over how UFO investigations are done and what are some of the mistakes that people make when they submit evidence. Note for starters, don't edit your videos or photos before you send them. If you want to hear more follow-up conversation between Ryan and myself, you can go to richardolanmembers.com, where we have a candid conversation on ufology, the paranormal, and more. And remember, while we learn and grow and search for the truth, let's be good to each other.
Welcome to the Observation Deck, a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind virtual platform that takes video conferencing to the next level by using avatars to navigate a campus, just like you would in real life. First, you install the application and design your very own unique avatar. Then you're free to explore the various areas of the campus at any time, from anywhere. There's so many areas and activities to choose from on the platform. There's a 1,000-seat auditorium, a large expo hall, a movie theater, a nightclub, an art gallery, and even a beach. Come attend a conference, or take a class, or hear a lecture. Meet new friends and interact directly with presenters. It's all right here on the incredible Observation Deck campus. Where in the world will you go?
Have you ever wondered, or maybe just thought to yourself, if there were others just like you? You know, people with extraordinary abilities, psychogenic advancement, and perhaps unique intuitions. Maybe you just wondered if there were other people who experienced unimaginable, unexplained, or even unusual and paranormal events. Are there people who have more questions, more fears than answers? Well, you're not alone. You've never been alone. We believe you. Sign up for EA today by going to tesacan.org/EA. That's TESACAN.org/EA. Welcome back. You are listening to Beyond the Tinfoil Hat. Have you ever experienced an unexplained event involving the paranormal, UFOs, extraterrestrial, dogman, or any other paracryptid? Head over to our new website, www.experienceyoursupport.org, and submit a report. Let the others who have already reported be that example that proves that we are making a difference. And if it wasn't for these reports, none of us would be able to do what we do. And for that, we thank you. If you're wondering where to get one of these cool hats, I got that from tinfoilcap.co from Rex from the Leak Project. So head over there and you can pick up one of these Marty McFly tinfoil hats. All right. So, the question, I wrote down my question before we went into break because I kind of wanted to piggyback into this talk because we're doing theoreticals. So if government is involved and they have the ability to alter consciousness or create enhanced consciousness, is the end game, what do you think the end game is for them? Are they trying to activate more of us to do good, or are they trying to activate more of us to do bad? And in your circumstances, you were one of the people that said no, and are fighting back.
Mm-hmm. Well, from my experience, I do not feel that they want to use us for anything positive. So I don't remember what psychic thing they wanted me to do. It was with my mind. So because they wanted me to do something with my mind, it just makes me wonder really what their capabilities are. Did they want me to teach them how to do it, or did they actually want me to do it? I'm not quite sure. But we know that they've been doing this kind of research for a long time into the mind and astral projection and teleportation and all that. Many countries on the planet have been doing this. Psycho warfare, I think they call it. Yeah. And so it is a very, very effective way to read an adversary's mind, to find where hostages are, or to find where military.
So remote viewing is used for that quite a lot. And that's as normal as you can get with this consciousness. Remote viewing doesn't come off as this paranormal consciousness vibe, but a lot of people do talk about that in the technical side because it's human. And so humans are using their mind. It's commonly known, and they're remotely piloting drones and stuff like that. But yet they don't talk about paranormal. They don't talk about consciousness. They don't talk about mediumship, psychics and all that other stuff. Yet it's the same thing. It's a human being using their mind to go somewhere else in space and time.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's the scary thing, because trying to understand the motive. So understanding the beast. So if the government is aware of it, the government is trying to do it so they can control it. They do that with everything. Every single government wants to have power and control of everything. And we're not working together to advance humanity. We're trying to survive where we are, so that when the end happens, we survive and we become the new the new species and whatnot. So in order for this to work, is there another layer of intervention behind the humans and the governments? Like, is there any thoughts around who's controlling them? Or is that the end of the line?
Oh, who knows? Who knows whether it's a human ultimate controller, or maybe some other multi-dimensional entity or group, or even just a consciousness. Through my work with my clients, it's very clear that life is just a mind game. Everything is just a mind game. That's what life is, all up here. And of course, our government is going to want to rule that. I don't trust our government when it comes to anything. So I really do think that, we hear these stories about our government making deals with ETs and things like that. I don't know anything about that. But I do know that in my experiences, there were humans and ETs together, humans and grays. Now, I have come in contact with other beings that were very loving and very kind and gave me really interesting information. There's a whole world out there. I mean, there's so many dimensions, and there's so many different entities and beings. It's unlimited.
Have you ever wondered?
Sorry.
That's okay. It's unlimited, so it's really hard to just really actually come up with some kind of logical explanation for any of this. I can just talk about my personal experiences, and because there've been quite a few. But I know that human beings, are communicating with a variety of different beings. One thing that humans like to do is to categorize. And also, human beings like to have this sense of belonging. So there is a lot of emphasis, in my opinion, put on where am I from? Am I Palladian, or am I from Venus, or who are my people? What star nation am I from? And I don't really get into all that because I believe, since I believe that our soul is split into a variety of consciousnesses at the same time, which we call past lives, which are all happening now because quantum physics says that everything's happening now, that really we have the experience of being a variety of different beings, of being ETs, and a variety of different beings from a variety of different planets and dimensions. So just to say I'm a Palladian, to me, is very limiting. You might be a Palladian, you might be a million other different things. But humans like to try and make this as logical as possible, and humans love self-definitions, love to give themselves definitions. And definitions can hurt you, and they can also help you, and you can always change your definitions. So I don't know, Ryan, I don't trust any work that's being done. I don't trust any experience that I have with ET if there is a human involved. And what I mean by that is I worry that there is an ulterior motive that is negative.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And it's trying to understand how it's possible, because if you can figure out if it's possible, then it feels more true to being accurate to the reality of things. But it's also not true because it's still theory, unless you're an experiencer and you have these answers. So the thing that has always concerned me with the ability to reach us is, if they're extraterrestrial and they are gods, or they're from other places, they have the power to connect with us at any time in any way. They don't need the government. So either the idea of the government trying to do it or figure it out, there could be some small attempts, but they're not successful, or they are successful and this is the result of it. But the good beings that kind of come in the middle of everything have to be coming from somewhere else. And when you mentioned the Palladians, under the understanding and the research suggesting, based on their own testimony, that they come from that particular star system, but yet they're also called Nordics, so from the north, and they could be native to that area because we are, and things like that. They could also be humans that are there. And if you look into Norse mythology, all that stuff, the gnomes and dwarfs and all that stuff, and Jotun, yeah, with the trolls, the blue trolls, and all that other stuff. So there's a lot of parallels with mythology that keeps it here on Earth.
Yes.
The 7 realms, 9 realms, or whatever you want to look at. And you can thank Assassin's Creed Valhalla for that. That's where I'm learning all this history from that video game. But so what do you think about that? So maybe these beings do exist on Earth. They're hiding.
Yes.
And they are using the same ability that the government's aware of, that's trying to reverse engineer and use. But at the same time, is it possible that they're trying to awaken us so that way we could defend against whatever it is they're trying to do, or to balance it? Again, how would that go?
I do believe there's a variety of beings on this planet. Some we can see with our 3D eyes, and some we see with our 3D plus eyes, as I call it. A few years ago, I was sitting in my living room, and these 2 beings just came in the middle of the day. And they were very tall, and I call them the blues, because they were predominantly blue. They also had silvery colors, and every now and then there'd just be this flash of a spring green, like right here. And they were tall, maybe 7 or 8 feet tall. And you couldn't draw them. I couldn't draw them if I wanted to, because they were just nothing but just constant undulating light, like kaleidoscopes. They were like this. It was so beautiful. And they were very, very loving. And the feeling I got from them, it was love that was even more intense than a mother's love. It was a love that I had never experienced before. And then they started communicating with me telepathically, and they gave me information about Tesla and Tchaikovsky and Disney. And they said that these men were in communication with otherworldly beings, and that Tesla and Disney did meet. And that when you listen to Tchaikovsky music, and it just turns out that Tchaikovsky, before I found this out, is my favorite composer. And of course, we all love Disney and we all love Tesla. So these are 3 men that were very close to my heart my whole life. And they told me when you listen to Tchaikovsky music, that actually activates DNA within you, raising your frequency and helping you align with your divine purpose. And a lot of classical music does that, but especially Tchaikovsky's. And one of Disney's most famous movies was Fantasia, which was filled with Tchaikovsky music.
I was thinking of that when you made that connection.
Fantasia is probably an activator. It's probably a DNA activator.
I love that movie. Why?
I know. So Disney knew what he was doing. He just didn't say it out loud.
Yeah, like Disney. Yeah, well, Disney's got his ties in a lot of things. He's also was friends with Brown there from NASA or whatever prior to creating that like Disney Studios and all these other things. So like he did a lot more in this realm than just creating cartoons. So like I do. That's strange. That's a very strange connection.
You know what else he did, which is really so beautiful.
Classical music's when I always get my messages or my thought, my best ideas come from me listening to.
There you go.
Do a random playlist. I should check to see if Tchaikovsky's music is on that playlist. That'd be interesting to know because there are some songs that I do like, but that resonated with me. I got goosebumps from that. That's interesting.
Oh, good. Yes.
So then that's an example of man knowing the same idea but using the mediums to enhance. So we always have good and bad in this world. We're going to have, with great power comes great responsibility. So is there going to be a point where one takes over than the other, or is it always going to be this fight? Are we always going to have this balance? Do we need balance, or should it be all good? Or should it, obviously we don't want it to be all bad. But
that relies on us and what we focus on. Right now, I can only speak for Americans because it's the population that I'm the most comfortable with and have the most experience with. But Americans love murder. They love to watch people get murdered. And they love to read about murder. It's warped. To me, it's so bizarre and strange. And that is such a negative energy. And we're just surrounded by these blankets of negative energy. The most popular movies and books and all that kind of stuff is about murder. And so as long as a society, we resonate with this low frequency, we're not going to be all good, as you were saying. It's really up to us, and by expanding our awareness and our consciousness to pop out of the lower frequencies up into the higher frequencies. And that's going to mean a change in what we focus on. Right now, we're all about fear. That's it. Americans are all about fear. That has to change. That also has to change in order for there to be a mass landing. And so we have to work on ourselves.
Mm-hmm. And being a Canadian, I'm also raised on American television, though. So we don't get a lot of Canadian stuff. that's been broadcast on our television. Everything usually is American stuff, and that's the same things that we watch, and we happen to like some of those things too, but it's what's available. So there must be, but so maybe we dive into that. Why do you think those type of people are fascinated with that? Is it that they like people getting hurt, or are they angry with themselves and there's validation because that it's a me too, that's a scenario that happened to me, and they got what they deserve, so it's a justice thing? Like, is it what if that's the reason why they're trying to draw in this negative energy? There should be some purpose other than entertaining, because it shouldn't be, murder should not be entertaining.
I know.
The news is slogan usually is, if it bleeds, it leads. And that's, if there's something interesting on the news, we're like, hold on a second, someone got hurt, let me hear what happened, right? We have that interest. And why do you think that is? Because we're to blame for that.
Well, yeah, it's definitely our doing. I just go back to energy. Everything I talk about is all about energy, the energy that you radiate, which is created by your mind. And so if you're resonating with a lower frequency, which is what victimization does, if you think you're a victim, if you think that everything is happening to you, that you have no control, and that you're kind of like a ball in a, what do you call those games? Pinball games? No, what do you call them? Are they pinball games?
The paddles and the ball going around?
Yeah. If that's how you see yourself as that ball, and all people are going to decide for you which direction you're going to go, that is a victimization vibe. That's a really low, dense, low vibe. And as long as we're resonating with that, then we're going to be attracted to everything that is of lower frequency. And that has to do with control, ego, all of that. Taking away our freedoms.
And the same thing's starting to happen in paranormal television too, because they're doing more shows about experiencer testimony, but they're the dark and they're the violent ones and they're the scary ones and things like that too. And yet we're drawn to that, because I think the association is crime. Because in the experiencer side, if we go back to the ifs, and these are true, the government is using technology without your consent. They are experimenting on your body without consent. They are visiting your mind without consent. They are visiting your house without consent. Those are illegal. Those are crimes against humanity. So if it's human element, then they can be charged with things like that. So I think we are victims to a lot of things, and we're drawn to it because we want to know how it worked out. So that way, when we ever come in these scenarios, then I see those parallels in these paranormal sides too, because we're victims too. Because if it's intrusion, it's trespassing, it's harmful, in some cases, sexual assault, like it is not a good thing. So let's come back to the support element. So that this is establishing the need. And now that you're one of these individuals out in the world that's spreading your light and you're helping individuals, is there anything on your website that you want to share specifically, or you want to talk about your book?
I'd be willing to talk about lots of different things. I would like to say something about what we were just talking about, how perspective is really important. Perspective, just like on Earth, our perspective determines our attitudes and our opinions about things. And so that is the case when we're traveling through the dimensions. Our perspective matters. So, for instance, I changed my perspective when it came to the grays through deep introspection. And often experiencers do change their perspective. They change from, oh, I thought they were harming me, to, oh, I now see that they were helping me. And maybe that message they gave me I misinterpreted because I was vibrating in a lower frequency. I just couldn't align with a higher frequency message. So there's that. Also, I wonder, do the ETs change the way they look? like earlier, we're talking about why do some ETs wear clothes and some don't? And so is that for us? And so if you look at what ETs look like in the 70s as opposed to how the ETs look now, they're very different. And people who drew pictures of their encounters in the 70s, the beings were, some of them kind of looked like spacemen. They were kind of clunky. They were really, some of them were weird looking. We don't even see drawings like that by experiences these days. So what's that about? Did those ETs just disappear and they don't visit us anymore? Or are they altering how they look so that we can accept them? Are they altering to how our movies and our TV say they should look? Something's going on there, I think.
So what's interesting, you just remind me of an old MUFON case that I did. This experiencer reported being led and followed by a cat. It was a black cat, but she explained specifically that the cat stood on its two legs, but it was a cat, and it always followed her because she loved cats. Okay, and it was comfortable for her. And then there's spaceships and all these other things. But then I asked her to draw it, and when she drew it, it didn't look like a cat. It looked like a shadow figure. And then I started thinking paranormal. And then that's where it really kind of opened up for me to think the parallel is connection. They're interpreting it differently. They think it looks like a cat, but it's not a cat. It's just a black figure. But to her, she was more inclined to follow the cat out the house down the street to catch the cat. Next, you know, she's in a spaceship. So there's like a trap mechanism there, but she was more inclined to follow it than a very scary being. So that is possible. Yeah, that was an interesting case that just totally.
Yeah, I never heard that before.
And
well, I've heard about a lot of times when there are reports about little kids, and sometimes they look like clowns, or sometimes they look like bears, or sometimes they look like cute little things. They're masked.
Yeah, shape figures and things like that.
Like what?
Shapeshifters, a lot of shapeshifters.
Yes. And so there's some manipulation being done to make us maybe feel more comfortable with the way they look. And maybe if we really saw the way they looked, we'd be so freaked out that there couldn't be any kind of experience.
Perspective is the main thing that we got to look at, because it depends on how they're perceiving it, what they're thinking that day, what kind of day they had. And things that I always use when I'm working with experiences is try to prove the intent, try to prove the motive. Because we get some experiences where you're sleeping in your room, you open your eyes, and there's a being standing there. Yes, you're afraid because the doors are locked. They shouldn't be in there. What are you seeing? You're in a vulnerable position, but they don't do anything. So do you know in that instance for these types of experiments that they even know that you're there, that you see them? And is there any intent to cause harm? Yes, it's terrifying, but we don't have the intent until they do something. And then once they do something, so for an example with your markings, there's some sort of intention to do that, but we don't know the motive. We don't know why they did that. We are theorizing on that, but we kind of need to get the answers from them. So do you do any when you do make contact, do you interrogate? Do you ask any questions? Do you try to get these answers? Have they ever validated for you as to, why you? Have you gotten any answers through that way?
Well, that reminds me of the experience that I had in Roswell. So Roswell was about 6 years ago, and I was with my ex then, Patrick. And I had been wanting to go to Roswell ever since I was a little girl. And then all of a sudden, I had this impromptu trip to Roswell. It came out of nowhere. And my ex called me and he said, I have to go to White Sands Missile Range to do some work. Why don't you meet me in El Paso? I'll take you to White Sands. Have you been to White Sands Missile Range? Because that is a yucky place. Oh my gosh, the energy there is horrible. I did not want to be there at all. And the whole time I was there, I could just see in my mind's eye that there were offices or there were hallways under the ground, and I just wanted to run. I did not want to be there. So we eventually made it to Roswell, and we went to the museum. It was fun. And we go to the hotel room, and he's in the bathroom, and I'm on the bed just switching channels on the TV. And I think to myself, I wish that show People of Earth was on. Did you ever watch that show, People of Earth?
I don't think I've seen that, no.
I think it was only on for 2 seasons, and it was produced by Conan O'Brien, who I think is a ET.
Really?
Yeah, and it was a funny take.
You think he's Canadian, is he not, Conan? Is Conan Canadian?
I'm not sure. He's definitely a hybrid.
Huh.
So it's this really funny show. It's a funny take on this experiencer support group. Mm-hmm. And I really liked it. And so, but I knew that the last show had just aired and it wasn't going to be on. So he comes out of the bathroom and we talk about something. And then I had stopped the TV on a commercial. So we finished talking. I turned the TV on. I won't even change the channel. And all of a sudden, poof, People of Earth comes on. Okay. And I'm like, whoa, all right. Freaked me out. I'm like, this is interesting. We watched it. He had not seen it before. He liked it. We laughed. We went to sleep. Next thing, my eyes pop open. And it's pitch black. I can't even see my hand in front of my face. And I know I'm in the hotel room. And I hear someone walking on the carpet. And it's Patrick, because he got into the bed. I feel him getting into the bed. And I think to myself, why was he sitting on the couch? Was it because of the ETs? And I fell asleep. So I get up in the morning and he's in the shower. And I'm wondering, why did I think he was sitting on the couch? First of all, it was pitch black. I couldn't see that. Secondly, he does not get up in the middle of the night and sit on the couch. And why did I think it was the ET? Then all of a sudden with that, it was like this, gosh, like this download of memories and information of what had happened that night. And I had been with a group of ETs. It was kind of like we were kind of like at a conference table. It was kind of like a conference. It was me and several of them. And they were talking to me about a book. And at that point, I didn't like them. I didn't want anything to do with them. And they're suggesting to me a kind of book to write. And I'm like, who the heck are you to tell me what to write, anything? And then they remind me of the hybridization information, like the picture I showed you. And they also said that the Greys are in this hybridization program with the humans because the Greys as a race have weeded out their ability to be empathetic and sympathetic. And if you don't have empathy and sympathy, your race is not going to last. And so they were dying out. And so they decided to go into this hybridization program with humans. Why? I don't know. And there are millions of people in this hybridization program. Many don't even realize it. And some might remember it through this some kind of like dream-like memory that they call it a dream, but it's not a dream, it's an actual event. And they said that for the most part, there are exceptions, that they pick people to hybridize with that have strong psychic abilities, that are very loving and very kind, the kind of people that wear their heart on their sleeve. And I was told that there are billions of embryos, billions. They're kind of like in a frozen state. And they're going to be used if we kill ourselves off. And we're on the path of that. It's not too late. We can still turn around, but we are headed in that direction, but that's not our ultimate destiny. But if that happens, then these very loving, very kind, consciously aware, strong psychic ability embryos will be brought to this planet, and this planet would be reseeded with those beings.
See, now that's more in line in that experiment idea, because that suggests that we have a purpose. There is a purpose. And if we do kill ourselves off, then they can reset, which validates the purpose of the being. So now that we're kind of getting, now you're getting
That's a good point.
religion and faith and all that other stuff too. But I mean, this is no close to, like, they talk about aliens in the Bible. So, like, I mean, it's pretty.
Oh yeah, the Vatican knows. The Vatican is open about it too.
So, what are your thoughts on this disclosure movement, where it is being American and I guess on the UFO part? Is that helpful for you as an experiencer, or is that something completely different? Because you mentioned you don't trust your government, so with everything or anything, I'm just curious to know your thoughts on the recent push on disclosure in the States.
Oh, okay. So we had that congressional hearing a few months ago. I actually made a video about the congressional hearing on my YouTube channel, Alien Spirit TV, where I explain what happened. I use snippets and clips from it, and I interpret it, and I also give my own opinions. I really think that we are in disclosure. It's just a slow trickling process. And I think that it is the social movement. I think it's all of us demanding answers, and social media that is really driving disclosure. It's a very good thing, and I think that's why they came out. A lot of what they said was just not much. They did say a few interesting things in those hearings, but I think it was their attempt to pacify us. So I'm glad it happened. I think it was a big deal that it happened. They didn't disclose very much, but it is a big deal that it happened. But that is completely because of all of us who are pushing and demanding the truth. Mm-hmm. What is it like in Canada?
Well, it's quite the opposite in Canada, but we, myself and a few others, are pushing towards getting the same results or the same congressional kind of response from the House of Commons. There is a political member, Larry Maguire, who has put forth questions to the Canadian government to have answers to piggyback off of a similar system for what the United States is trying to do. So sometime in November, we should get a response from that. But we don't get a lot of media coverage being Canadian. So, it's all American television and all that other stuff. But what I understand through my disclosure efforts is, like, Canada's disclosed UFO, like, their information about UFOs in 1999. So they're in the Library of Archives. There's access to it. Many people have looked at it. They've done their research for it now. But they still investigate UFOs now, or like reports on it. They still do some things with it. But there's this document, it's called the Surveys document, which is a communication for intelligence. I can't remember the full acronym, vital intelligence. But anyways, essentially, it's a report that we're required. So NORAD, our Canadian NORAD, is required to submit to NORAD in Cheyenne Mountain, so in Colorado, about information about unidentified flying objects or anything of high risk. And then that gets transferred to the United States, and the United States continues the investigation. So for us, if we get disclosure from the States, a lot of us feel that we'll get some answers for Canada. But when we're putting pressure on Canada, they don't seem to care, or they seem to think, from one of the quotes from a journalist, Daniel Otis had got a quote saying, from the Royal Canadian, I think it was the Department of National Defense, saying that they don't consider what's happening in the States credible, so they're not reporting on it. So there's an opinion, different countries, of course, in histories, but the fact is that both countries were together during the Cold War, and all these other things. We both reversed engineered technology. We had Project Matchbook, is the equivalent to Project Paperclip in the United States, because we also got German engineers as well here in Canada. There are some theories that we were holding on to Einstein and Tesla, not Tesla, but Einstein before, and all these, and Hoover. Is it Hoover? I can't remember. But anyways, we were holding on to them temporarily before they came over to the States. We have Project Magnet, which is similar to Project Blue Book, same time, different place. So we did the same things. We were all involved. These things existed in the sky, and it was all covered up. But the documents that I found, I have a 1952 document from a Royal Canadian Air Force interrogation document that suggests that it's German technology reversed engineered by the States and wanted to let Canada know about it to give Canada the edge of what was going on in the world. But the Canadian, the National Research Council at the time, had enough information about the German flying saucers to consider this person not credible, and thought that he was just trying to get a green card. So that was the official report, understanding in the report. But what was interesting in that is that they had to know more than this engineer, which knew a lot, to know that he was lying. And they didn't deny the fact that Germans had the technology. So if that's what they had, if that's the true story, and then we reverse engineer it, we have the Avro 1955 or something like that. There's only 2 of them made, which is this flying saucer type craft that we made, only 2 of them. And then the patent was purchased or sold or given to the United States. So there's a lot of things that Canada was trying to do as well, but at some point. Now, whether I have theories that perhaps Canada's not involved because maybe Canada is the place where everything is. There's a distraction. So Area 51 anymore, as if everyone's talking about it, everybody knows about it, it'd be smart enough for them to move it, right? Area 52, 53, wherever you want to put it, but it can't be there anymore because everyone's talking about it. But if it's somewhere else where they're not looking, because we borrow stuff from the States all the time. When we, I'm a former serviceman myself, and we use United States equipment before we use Canadian stuff. So there's that. So
interesting.
Long story short is we're along for the ride. We have understandings. We have more information on our side that's not redacted. They don't redact enough. They're open about it. We have coins that are minted about Falcon Lake, Shag Harbor. There's some significant UFO events that's part of the culture, but yet mainstream media doesn't cover it. It's not being talked about. It's normal here, but it's not threatening.
It's normal, yet social media. It's normal, yet your media does not talk about it.
Correct. It's not, there's no threat being seen by it. So the conversation that's being had in the American government is perceiving these objects as being a threat, which is why we have answers, which is a valid threat, because if you don't know what it is, you should know what it is to determine whether or not it's a threat. So I understand the need to do that. But for some reason, the Canadian government, based on what's already been reported, doesn't believe it to be a threat. So they must know something, and it's a different opinion.
Wow. What about the Canadian citizens? Pretty much, do Canadian citizens believe?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of support here in Canada, belief and stuff too. There's a lot of experiences here. We're no different. We have UFOs too. We have aliens too. We have it all, and it's just. Americans got control of the television is all. But if America tells the truth, then we all get the truth. And there's a lot going into that. Yeah. So if we come back to America saying, because they have opportunity now. You mentioned that they're pacifying us. And I believe that is what's happening. We put a lot of pressure over these years. We got to say something. And you know what? If we say something and then neutralize it, it goes away because we've done something. We now investigate UFOs. We now have it regulated in our system. We've done everything you asked. Here's the report. And a report says this. That is the moment where we're going to realize that report's either going to say, yes, we've done the research as you've asked and we agree with you, or we've done the research that we've asked and we've explained it all away and there's nothing to worry about. Let's move on and continue. Because what has happened is information was leaked. There was a data breach, which is another criminal activity, and they have to work, regardless of how that came out, they have to do some damage report to prevent that information from coming out again, because it could have been trade secrets that could put anything. Something got leaked out. Depending on what it is, that protocol needs to change so that way all our countries can be protected. So I'm waiting to see what they actually do with the report, because that will tell. And with Canada, Canada already has a response and a scapegoat to say what they're already doing, because they've already openly expressed what they're doing with the information, which is sending it to Transport Canada, Navigation Canada, and they report whatever they need to do, and we transfer it to the States. So it's more than likely going to get sent back to the States, who has control of the narrative. Now, there's a lot that goes into a yes. So if we come back to the abduction phenomenon, I wouldn't say phenomenon because it's not a phenomenon to you, it's real. So the abduction experience, if they say UFOs exist, unidentified flying objects, does that mean aliens exist? Or is that just something else different? Because if they say yes to one thing, they're saying yes to everything. Ghosts exist, Bigfoot exists, all of it has to exist. So do you think, with your current thought with your government, what's more likely? Are they going to admit it, or are they going to say it doesn't exist because they have to explain all these other things as well?
I think it'll be a long time before they admit it, a really long time.
And they need to pacify us out. They need to stop it so that way they have control of it. And there's another department with money on it, so the problem goes away. And you're going to get people reporting to a government agency who, as we might think through this conversation, is controlling this MyLab experiment project. We're going to create this environment where experiencers who do trust the government might willingly provide information and details about their experiences that they're having, putting themselves on the map, putting themselves on the radar, so that way they can continue and do whatever it is they're doing. So that is just as comforting for some, but also threatening to others who don't trust the government already.
Yeah.
It's not a good thing, bad thing, but it has to happen so we can move forward.
Yeah,
right?
That was good.
Kind of went on a little rant there, but
no, that was good. And you actually reminded me of another MILAB experience I had, where I was in this office-like room under the ground, because I remember seeing stairs going up, and I'm standing in front of this poster, and on this poster or a chart is the path of a flying saucer. And there's all these mathematical equations and things on it. And there's a man standing next to me as we're looking at this chart or this poster, and he asks me, when does the spaceship achieve K point? And then with that, I don't remember anything. That's the last thing I remember. And Grant Cameron, who is in Canada, who I'm very fond of, he's interviewed me a couple times, and I think he's wonderful. I had told him about that, and he sent me this article about a woman who had an experience, who was abducted. I really don't care for that word. And the ETs gave her information about the K point.
Oh, wow.
So then I think, well, here's a government man asking me to know what the K point is. Even though I have a biology degree, a science degree, I don't remember studying the K point. And I did look it up. It is a legitimate thing. I still don't completely understand what it is. I know that in ski jumping, they talk about a K point.
Like, I don't think I've heard that. Are we saying like the letter K point?
Yeah. Yes.
I'm just gonna make a note for later to look into that. Oh, yeah, that's new to me. So what is the K point then?
I don't even remember. It was kind of complicated. It's physics, mathematical formula that has to do, if they talk about it in ski jumping, or that sport where they jump off of a platform and they're in the air.
So K stand for kinetic, like kinetic energy?
Maybe. I don't remember. I don't know. I don't remember. It's been a while since I looked into it. So it has something to do with some kind of state of equilibrium or something when object is moving, maybe accelerating up, something to do with that. Or accelerating down, I don't know. Or decelerating, I don't know.
Okay, we're almost done. This went by quite fast. I'm surprised. Great conversation. Let's talk about your book, because you do have one. I like the title. You have the right to talk to aliens. So tell me about this book, and yeah.
Well, when I talked with Kathleen Marden, when I reached out to her for help, I had asked her, what am I supposed to do with all the information that the Greys have given me? Because I also see myself in my mind's eye on stage talking. And she said, Sev, I can't tell you what to do. That's something you have to figure out. So after our conversation, I just told myself, I don't know. I'm not going to force anything. I'll just let this organically happen. And then a couple months later, I woke up and I declared I'm writing a book. And it's just some of my experiences. It's also a little bit of my life to exemplify how kind of lost and unhappy I was because I was in such denial about my truth, and advising people to come out to yourself. You don't have to come out to everybody, but please come out to yourself and maybe one other person like me or you or somebody. And then just a couple weeks after the book debuted on Amazon, I was contacted by AlienCon. And they said, would you like to be a speaker? And it was in Baltimore, Maryland, where I had a lot of experiences in Baltimore, Maryland. So that was my coming out through the book and through AlienCon. And it was then that I learned that I want to work with experiencers, because so many people came up to me and shared their stories. And they said, I've never told anyone this before, and now that's like music to my ears.
Interesting. Where can they find the book? Is it on your website right here, book?
It's on Amazon. It's on Amazon. I also have a planet and a star system named after me in the Star Wars galactic system. Actually, if anybody watches Star Wars Andor, one of the recent episodes mentioned my name. I have the little video clip of it on my Facebook page and also on my website under Star Wars.
I think I was looking at that earlier.
Oh, you are?
I lost the website. What's it called again? Planet Sev, right?
PlanetSev.com. Yeah, if you go to Star Wars, yeah. And, oh no, Star Wars. I think you clicked on something else. There you go. Yeah. And there's a little video clip where they say my name in the new version of.
I don't know if I've got a copyright claim playing the audio, so I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, I did notice the Star Wars reference to the name.
Yeah. So many years ago, a couple decades ago or so, my best friend was dating this guy who was a writer, and he got a job writing a short story for Star Wars, and that was his book. And yeah, there's the Sev Tok system. And he told me that he was going to name a planet after me because he liked my name, and I didn't believe him. But the story comes out, and there's the Sev Tok system and planet. And the planet has 2 moons, and there's a star system. And in fact, I was just emailing him with him yesterday, telling him that I mentioned his name. His name is Tom Bowling. I mentioned his name a lot in interviews, and that it's really a wonderful gift to give to me to have a planet and a star system. I can live forever in the Star Wars galaxies.
That's nice. That's epic. That's like beyond the whole buy a star kind of scam that they got going on, right? Like that particular star is yours. I paid $10,000 for it. I love you. You know, but yeah, it's cultural though. Star Wars, why not? That's cool. That's cool. That is cool. Okay, well, parting notes, I guess. What do you want to leave with? You got a message. The floor is yours. You have an audience here. There's a message you could give to experiencers who may be experiencing the same thing or have a similar journey, because I know there are a few with some that I've talked to. They might see this on the replay. Some of them are watching right now. You got anything to say to them?
Yeah, there's no benefit to hiding it. And because it is easier and easier to come out now, and there's so many outlets where you can get help. either contact me, contact Ryan, contact somebody, and just come out to somebody. And you're going to see your reality change because of it, because you're going to start aligning with your authenticity. And when you're living through your authenticity, that's when you become fulfilled, successful, healthier, happier, all of that. So it's no good to hide a truth about yourself. Not all of us have ET contact, but for those of us who do, that is a very important, profound truth that we have to admit.
Mm-hmm. To add to that, to the experiencers, do your research, take your time when you reach out to these, and also use as many resources as you can, because there's many different perspectives, there's many different organizations, there's many different studies, right? You report to MUFON, get as much information as you can from MUFON, and if that answers the questions for you, then that's great. That's best for you, for your journey, and that's what you need. Report to us, and we'll do it our way, our method, based on our understanding of what's needed. But you can report to both. You can report to everything else and all these different types of groups, because for you as an experiencer, you know what you need. You know what you want, and you'll know when you find it. But there's not one system for one person, because we all have many different variables.
Yeah.
And once you figure out what works for you, in what ways it works, then you'll be able to refer properly too. So when you do your research as an individual, right? Because you said you need to come out to yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then decide. And you should also report to many different agencies that you trust, so you can compare the results and compare the opinion of the investigators, because they're humans too, right? If I don't know what it is, that doesn't mean it's alien. It means that all my knowledge and research that I've done, I haven't come across something that I know, and I'm learning something new every day, which is why I have guests like you on the show, and I learned quite a lot. I got lots of notes of things that I'm going to be researching tonight. I'll be up all night. Thanks. But I mean, and that's the thing, is we learn from each other. You as an experiencer will learn from others. And so just for those of you who understand, MUFON and Tessa can be in the same room. This is an example. It's we all do. We're all trying to help the people understand and evolve and stop feeling negative. That's what I enjoyed with the experiencer research team with Kathleen, is the whole take home was to take that negative thought, repackage that, so that way the human being can move on. And I carried that example with me when I created the Experiencer Support Association to do more of that.
Oh, that's good.
So, it is needed. Thank you for what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you.
As we mentioned at the beginning of the show, if you are interested, maybe CC can reach out and we can have a more formal conversation about other things that we do at the association. And please, if you want to participate in the chat when we do the after chat, and we're just going to have a chat. So where can everyone find you on social media? Besides your website, we know it's planetsev.com, but can they find you on social media?
Mm-hmm. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram. My YouTube channel is Alien Spirit TV. I have a newsletter, a monthly newsletter. You can sign up on my website. I say that I'm on Twitter there, but I haven't tweeted in a long time. It's not my favorite platform.
Yeah, you're not missing anything. It's ugly out there. Twitter's an ugly place for experiencers.
And also, I'm a transformational coach, just helping everyone just escape these negative habitual mind patterns that affect your life negatively, and just point you in the right direction, help you refocus and get your vibe high so you can manifest your purpose. If you don't know what your purpose is, I have full purpose sessions. I have spiritual DNA activation sessions, past life sessions, get rid of negative belief sessions. I have all kinds of sessions.
Cool. Great. Thank you so much.